Good afternoon, folks. This is Ken MacLeod, the President and CEO of Sonoro, and I'm joined by my colleague John Darch, the Chairman of Sonoro. And we're both ready and willing and able to answer any questions you may have following our initial presentation. So without any further ado, we can continue with the presentation. And the picture you see in front of you here right now is the location of much of the drilling at Cerro Caliche. And the zones that you see, the three hills that you see in front, are all being intensively drilled as we speak. And there's much of the resource that is situated, that we have defined to date, is situated in this particular zone. And all the region that is in front of the camera is also being investigated with a drilling program. So to go forward, forward-looking statements, standard forward-looking statements. We are going to be making some forward-looking statements in this presentation here. And the next one, I will read it out in full because it is important. The company is continuing to advance its conceptual development schedule for the Cerro Caliche project with the aspirational goal of commencing gold production by the end of 2021. A successful realization of that goal remains subject to certain material conditions, most notably including the satisfactory completion of metallurgical testing, securing the required environmental permitting, a favorable preliminary economic assessment, and the availability of project financing. As an important step in this execution of the plans, Sonoro has engaged two independent consulting firms to provide an NI 43-101 compliant technical reports regarding a proposed heap leach mining operation. And we'll talk about those independent consultants as we go through the process here. So to summarize, most of you are aware of the main highlights here, and you may want more of a summary on what impact the 2020 drilling has had on the company. But to summarize, we are listed on the TSX Venture Exchange under the trading symbol SMO, the OTC QB market, and we're also on the various German exchanges. We have a very experienced management team in the financing and developing resource projects around the world. And also a technical team has been extremely successful in developing at least 12 copper and gold deposits over the past 35 years. And we can safely credit over 5 million ounces of gold discovery to our Vice President Exploration, Mel Herdrick. The last quarter of 2020 was very successful for us. We raised in August, September, an $8 million financing, and that enabled us to really move the project forward with a significant 14,000 meters of additional drilling between September and December of 2020. And the main project right now is that we'll be talking about is Cerro Caliche. We have put San Marcial on hold while we develop Cerro Caliche, but sometime in 2021, we will be devoting some attention to the San Marcial project. And the management team, John Darch and I, both have similar backgrounds, but mainly on parallel tracks over the past 35 years in developing mineral projects and resource projects in various parts of the world. Mel Herdrick, our chief geologist and VP exploration, as I mentioned, 5 million ounces plus to his credit for discovery. And Jorge Diaz, our mining engineer, Mexican-based. He lives in Hermosillo, as does Mel Herdrick. And Jorge has been involved in many design, construction, and operation of heap leach open pit facilities throughout northern Mexico. The location of the project is, as you can well imagine, in a very prolific region for gold mining and silver mining. Sonora State, 23% of the economy is reliant on gold mining. And as you can see here, we're located and surrounded by producing mines to the southeast of us, the Mercedes mine, by 9 kilometers, on strike in the same structure as the Cerro Caliche project. To the north of us is Santa Gertrudis project, which was acquired by agnico-eagle in November 2017 for a grand total of $92 million US, including the purchase of the royalty. Adjacent to us on the west is the Cerro Prieto mine, operated by Gold Group. And then off to the west, the San Francisco mine operated by Magna Gold. We're showing here Leo Gold, but that's subsequently has changed. And we're 3 hours drive north of Hermosillo, 3 hours drive south of Tucson, Arizona. Very easy access to the property. To date, over 36,000 meters, and with the way we're been madly drilling over the past couple of weeks, that's probably over 37,000 meters now. There are 17 gold mineralized zones have been identified on the property, and we're continuing to add to the mineralized zones because some of the zones that we're working on now have not been cataloged before because of overburden, and we're starting to unearth those as well. But we've been focusing over the past 4 months on the drilling of 4 major gold mineralized zones, and I'll show you the map on that in a second. We also have areas of higher grade gold mineralized zones that we are focusing on expanding as well, and hopefully we'll be adding to these particular zones to the resource in due course. In order to get to our destination of being in production by the latter part of 2021, we've initiated metallurgical testing with McClelland Laboratories in Reno, Nevada. And McClelland, I consider to be one of the finest metallurgical labs in the United States. And we sent them in December, early December, we sent 5.5 tons of mineralized material, which we derived from PQ-sized cores from 11 different drill holes in various parts of the property. So we could get representative samples of each of the main mineralized zones in the property. The testing is underway. Excuse me. And so we anticipate that by the end of April, early May, we'll be completed with the metallurgical testing, and we should have the results shortly thereafter. We've also hired the firm of Micon International out of Toronto to provide us with the updated 43-101 report. And the goal for us right now is we have enough data that we can send to them and they can update the report. But we're also going to add to the mineralization by taking the drill results for the periods of January and most of February, get the assays from those and deliver them to Micon International as well, so that we will have, by the time the metallurgical testing is completed, we will have the most up-to-date resource estimate that we're capable of providing at that time. So taking the metallurgical testing and the 43-101 resource calculation into account, the final piece of the puzzle will be Denim Engineering out of Toronto that will provide the PEA. And Denim is actually working closely with Micon and McClelland and ourselves in order to make that a reality. So the goal is now, with the plans for the heap leach mining operation, totally on schedule and totally on budget at this point in time. So the campaign in 2020, in the last quarter of 2020, was a two-pronged campaign. One was to take the RC rig and expand upon the known resource that going back to 2019, we had a 43-101 that provided a calculation of over 200,000 ounces of inferred gold, mainly in the Japonesa zone. In the center of this map here is where the Japonesa zone is resident. And since then, the goal for the 2020 drilling was to expand upon the Japonesa zone, plus develop some of the ancillary zones as well, and that's been very successful. The core drilling was focused on finding new areas of mineralization, and we drilled 4,500 meters, and we're still continuing the drilling program to define these new areas of mineralization and also expand upon them. So there's a blend now between the RC drilling and the core drilling that will essentially provide us with a combination of higher grade zones and the continuation of expansion of the resource. Air track drilling is being employed in advance of RC drilling in order to identify known area or areas of mineralization near surface that we can then go in with a higher cost RC drilling and maybe even the core rig. The conceptual epithermal model has been working very successfully for us. So we are defining the various zones within the property and being able to correlate them with the zones that are generally accepted in a epithermal model. And we, at this moment in time, we are actually expanding the exploration into the upper reaches of the property where you see the pink zone near the top, which is the top of Cerro Caliche Peak. And we have very, very good drill targets all the way to the top of Cerro Caliche Peak. The 4 zones that we have identified to date, and I'm talking strictly about to date, which represent about 20% of the surface area of the concession, and knowing that essentially as much as majority or maybe even 100% of the property is mineralized. But we'll focus on these 4 zones today. Start off with the number 2, the Japoneses Cuervos zone. This is where most of the 200,000 ounce resource from the initial 43-101 originated. And now, back in 2019, the zone was about 800 meters long. And we have been very successful now in expanding the zone to the northwest, the southeast, and it's 1.3 kilometers in length now. Interestingly enough as well, we're finding pods of higher grade, with the average being 0.545 grams per ton actually. And we're now finding areas that are significantly higher as well. We continue to expand the drilling there. We're drilling to the north. Currently, we will drill to the south as well. Off to the west is the Buena Suerte zone, which was a very, very significant discovery for us. In that, in the previous 43-101, there was no credit given because we didn't have any, we only had 2 or 3 drill holes at that time. Now we have probably 15, 17 drill holes, and we've been finding the average grade at Buena Suerte is significantly higher than the surrounding Japoneses, for example. We're getting grades of over 1 gram over wide intercepts, and we're finding to the north it is open along strike. To the south, it's open along strike. We continue to drill in these 2 directions as we speak. Next one is off to the west. You have the El Colorado Cabeza Blanca zone. El Colorado is a very interesting area, higher grade zone. It's a coalescence of 3 distinct major mineral zones or mineral targets. You have the Cabeza Blanca vein zone, which is intersecting through the Colorado zone. You have the another zone called the Colorado zone itself, and also you have I'm trying to remember the name of the other zone off to the west, Guadalupe, the Guadalupe zone. They all coalesce in the Colorado zone, which makes for very confused geology, but also very rich as far as the intercepts are concerned. And we're getting generally between 0.7 and 1 gram in many of these zones there, with some of the intercepts being significantly higher. I got to show you in this map here, Colorado zone. 12 meters of 11 grams. That's not unusual for that zone, 15 meters of 1 gram. So getting back here, final zone that made us very excited, and we're drilling it currently, is the El Rincon Veta de Oro zone. The Veta de Oro showed us good intercepts last year. We're averaging in the order of about 1 gram with the Veta de Oro holes. Recent drilling at El Rincon is suggesting where the grades are very, very similar, the geology is very similar, and the structure is identical to Veta de Oro. In fact, the structure continues through from Abejas in the south, through Veta de Oro, and through El Rincon. And we're drilling in this area where we have the number 1 shown, and I think we've drilled 4 holes so far for a grand total of 8 over the coming few weeks, in order to connect the mineralization at Veta de Oro and Rincon. And we expect that particular zone will be productive for over a length of 2.5 kilometers when you include Abejas in that as well. Japoneses is 1.3 kilometers, Buena Suerte is 600 meters, and to the west, Cabeza Blanca, El Colorado are over 1 kilometer. And here's just a sample of some of the intercepts. At Buena Suerte, 45 meters of approximately 1 gram. You throw some silver in there and it's over a gram. El Rincon, 21 meters of 1.13 grams. And Veta de Oro, 10 meters of 2.7. And interesting enough, at the Japoneses, even though the average grade is 0.545, we are getting various zones where, or various areas where we have much, much higher grades, like 27 meters of just under 1 gram. This is where we're currently drilling, as I mentioned. And as you can see from these intercepts, we have good reason to drill in that area. We have high hopes of being able to connect the Veta de Oro with the El Rincon zone over that 1 kilometer stretch. We have enough surface samples to demonstrate that mineralization is continuous. And we want to be able to, over the coming month and a half, be able to demonstrate that as one continuous zone. Give you an idea of how easy it is to mine many of these zones. It is hilly country. Excuse me for the coughing. But if you look at the north end of Buena Suerte, which is the left side of your screen, we're getting excellent intercepts from surface or very close to surface. 45 meters of just under a gram, 27 meters of 1.17 grams. And we're getting very good intercepts at the southern end of that same structure as well. So we continue to expand upon Buena Suerte, and we expect Buena Suerte will be enlarged. The mineralization at Buena Suerte should be enlarged quite substantially over the coming months as we're drilling at both ends over the coming 1 or 2 months. Excuse me. So the 2021 program continues very much along the same lines as what we had done in the last quarter of 2020. We're continuing with both the RC drilling to infill where necessary and step out where necessary. And the core drilling is also being used for additional expansion of the resource, but also to target the potential high-grade zones. I want to emphasize that when we talk in high grade for an open pit heap leach type of operation that we're projecting here, a 1 gram per ton zone is every bit as productive, every bit as economic as a 5 to 7 grams underground. So I want you to be certain that when I'm talking about high grade here, anything 1 gram is a very, very successful operation. We are looking at half a gram as being very productive from the point of view of an open pit and other mines in the same region. And we noticed that some of our, I wouldn't say competitors, but some of our peers are actually operating mines down to 0.25 and 0.15 grams per ton. The goal now for all the programs that are taking place currently right now, the metallurgical testing, the technical reports, and the engineering design, and the permitting are all happening simultaneously so that they coalesce into a project financing in April and May of this year. And then if we're successful in all of these events, and we'd anticipate determining a production decision at the same time and by May of 2021. And the throughput that is being contemplated, as we mentioned in the news release, is 20,000 tons per day. And so our internal studies are suggesting that that is quite reasonable. So from the point of view of the timelines, excuse me, I mentioned that the drilling will continue throughout 2021. I think it's important to remember here right now that the projected outlook for the Cerro Caliche project is substantially higher than what we've announced in the earlier 43-101. 200,000 ounces is just the start. We put out a report in June of 2020, which indicated that the prospective target for mineralization at Cerro Caliche is somewhere in the order of 60 to 100 million tons, grading between 0.3 and 0.5 grams. Now, we believe we're quite conservative in that respect. So when you take all of that into account, we've only scratched the surface so far as the potential for Cerro Caliche is concerned. I'm expecting multiples of that over the next year to 18 months of drilling. Excuse me, I'll have some water. So the rest of the Gantt chart here suggests that, as I mentioned before, all the elements for making a production decision will come to bear in the month of May, and at that point we should be able to make a go no go decision on the construction. So to summarize on the company itself, 85 million shares issued and outstanding, and management controlled approximately 20% of that. We bought 18% of the recent financing, of the $8 million financing, and we continue to add to our positions as time, whenever the opportunity arises. But the average share price over the past few months has been in the order of 25 to 30 cents, occasionally dipping below. It doesn't seem to have any wild fluctuations whatsoever. The volume since December the 1st of 2020 has been approximately 12 million shares. And so there's a tremendous amount of resilience in the share price. And while we fully expected some of the shares that were purchased in the financing to come at us in the market, which they have, many of them have, we have eager and willing buyers taking up the slack there. So that's made for a very, very substantial new base in the 25-cent range. And we expect that as we come up with additional good news, that will be strengthened as time goes by. So at this point in time, I would like to have my colleague John Darch say a few words to encapsulate what I've been talking about and where he sees the vision for the future. John?
Yes, well, thank you very much and welcome everybody. I think Ken's covered it so well, there's not really much to add. There's every aspect of the project and of the market and the share price and the company's ownership. We are in a good position. We have a very complementary team of engineers, geologists, financial, marketing people, etc. Ken mentioned how we've absorbed, I think, about 30% potentially of the shares which came free in the private placement. So at this stage, I think it's better to respond to questions rather than anticipate what people may want to hear. Any questions, please?
Yeah, there are quite a number of questions, John. On the right, under the tab there, I can read them out to you if you like, but they're all.
I don't see them.
No, I don't see them. So maybe you just choose a question. We take it from there, Brandon.
Sure. So, let me see which one would be a good one that people would like to have answered. We've got one here from Wolfgang. Is management confident to drill out enough resources for its planned gold production at a daily capacity rate of 20,000 tons of ore? And what about if future drilling will not be so successful as during 2020? Has the company done enough drilling already to be confident to push the production button once the PEA will be finished?
Okay, well, all these questions will be answered once we have completed an independent 43-101 resource calculation plus the PEA. As it stands right now, we are very confident as management that we have sufficient mineralization to suggest that a 20,000 ton per day throughput is well within the realm of reason. It is not wildly over ambitious, and so with the current drilling that we have, plus the drilling that we are intent on completing between now and the end of February, that will be added to the next edition of the 43-101, We are confident that we will be able to support the projected throughput of 20,000 tons per day, and with the goal of continuing the drilling program all the way through 2021, including the time that we fully expect to be in construction. The goal is to keep on increasing the size of the mineralization so that by the time that we are actually in construction, there will be a very, very sizable potential for the mineralization to be not only enlarged, but hopefully we'll be able to define areas of higher grade as well. So I think the recent drilling that we've done has expanded our knowledge so much that we are now able to focus on areas where we're getting the higher yields. And so I don't anticipate that there's any problem with us starting off at the end of 2021, early 2022 on a throughput of 20,000 tons and be able to make that productive over a minimum 5-year period and keep expanding from that point.
Great. Another question was, which zone do you expect the ore is, which zone do you expect or are aiming to begin production in with 2021?
I think it's been obvious from the drilling that we've done that the largest zone at this point in time was the Japonesa zone. That's where most of the initial resource in the 43-101 from 2019 was situated, and we have expanded that zone substantially. And I'm quite happy to report that the grades that we've been encountering in the Japonesa zone, in the northern part of the Japonesa zone, have been supporting the potential for a larger resource. So in due course, that number will come out, but that seems to be the optimum place to begin the initial mining because the mineralization essentially starts at surface. And if you look at the profile of the resource, we consider this to be a shallow resource, and to a depth of about 80 meters is intensely mineralized in that particular zone. There are other zones that are showing greater average grade, but also we have to take into account the strip ratio that may be attached to these different zones. And so the MineQuest software will determine where the best place to mine is, but obviously at this point, I can honestly say Japonesa seems to be the logical choice.
Great. Another question came in. How much cash does the company have on hand, and will you need more financing to get to production?
The cash on hand, the last time I checked a week or two ago, was $2.5 million. Is that enough to get us through to production? The answer is no, because we're going to have to raise capital to put the project into production. So project finance will be the determining factor there. We would anticipate that there'll be a combination of project financing to construct the plant and an equity financing to continue the drilling program, because we have no intentions of holding back with the drilling program, because we want to fully realize the great potential for this project in its entirety, and so the drilling must continue. We are currently, we're satisfied that up until the time that we produce the 43-101 and the PEA, we're fully financed to that point. So that would be the opportunity at that point would be to do another project finance / equity finance.
Great. Another question, if we have time for it, is how has the crowded field of junior gold explorers in northern Mexico and just about everywhere else in the world influenced the board's decision to put a producing mine in place to stand out and differentiate?
John, I think that's a good one for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a really good question. And I'd go back to say that when we first embarked upon the Cerro Caliche, we had a business plan which called to go to production as soon as possible for the purpose of ensuring that we had a cash flow which would enable us to continue expanding the project. And that has never changed since we began. And the purpose of that, of course, is to minimize dilution. So in terms of the question itself, we think that our determination to go to production, our willingness to provide a timeline in all the activities and to give regular reports is a clear demonstration of our belief in why it should be done. And that alone will put us in a much better position than many of our peers. And we do have the advantage also of having our full mining team in Mexico, also with the driller down there, so we've not been negatively impacted by any coronavirus.
Excellent. I think unless there's more questions, I think the last relevant question would be referring to the scheduled gold production. What are the potential showstoppers, permitting delays, delays in supply of equipment, etc., due to COVID-19? It's kind of related to what you were just saying.
If I may answer, John, are you going to answer that one?
No, go ahead, Ken.
Showstoppers, we don't see any at this point in time. The permitting process is well known. Sonora State in Mexico is by far the most advanced and the most mining friendly state in the entire Union of Mexico. And so there's a well-defined process for obtaining the permitting. We do not have any indigenous issues in this area. We do not have any issues with the ejidos. These are the local representatives of the local communities that tend to look after the issues regarding the use of land surrounding their communities. So we don't have any ejidos in that respect. The nearest community is 14 kilometers away, a small town called Cucurpe. The nearest main community is 45 kilometers away, and both these communities are reliant on mining for their well-being. So mining-friendly jurisdiction, I don't see any permitting issues. There are no issues with respect to water contamination in this area because we don't have any type of issues with the mineralogy of the project that would suggest that we're going to have any contamination issues. So I think that permitting is not going to be an issue that I would classify as being detrimental to us. As far as the resource is concerned, I'm satisfied right now that we have done enough drilling that if we wanted to say we're not going to spend any more money on drilling, we're happy with the mineralization to date, I would say we could do that. But that's not our intention. Our intention is to take this project and expand it to the maximum value that we can obtain for our shareholders. So we will continue the drilling program. And then on the metallurgical side, we've done enough internal studies on the metallurgy that would satisfy us that we are confident that the metallurgy will yield a result that we'll all be satisfied with. And then the financing side, I will let John handle the financing aspect of it.
Again, on the financing side, much will depend on how things evolve over the next month in terms of the additional drilling results and the NI 43-101 and the PEA. We are at the moment considering various options for the project financing, which may include funding to continue with the drilling, which would avoid an equity issue. But these are early days. I think that, as Ken said, we have funds on hand. We are able to continue right through till we get the NI 43-101 and the PEA. And so we're in a good position.
Excellent. Well, I think that's it for the questions. Unless anybody else has more questions, I think we're done.
Well, thank you very much, folks, for attending. I appreciate you taking the time. I truly appreciate the questions as well. They're always beneficial for us, and so we can determine what's important to you. And thank you very, very much for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.